Let's make some amigurumi bats. For this project, you will need Juicy Couture yarn in whatever colors you would like. Here, I am going to be using the hot pink, the light pink, and their non-sparkly creamish white color. And I'm also using a 3.5 millimeter hook. This one is Clover Amour. You can find the link to all of the supplies in the bio. You'll also need scissors and a sewing needle. Size 12 millimeter safety eyes. You will need some fabric glue. This is my personal favorite brand, UHU, and red embroidery thread for the mouth, as well as white felt, and red felt being optional for the mouth. Let's hop right to it. So first we're going to create 6 single crochet stitches in a magic circle. And here I am using the yarn under, yarn over method, so UYO for short. And let's just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Pull your ring tight. Now, if you're having trouble pulling your ring tight and you find that your yarn often snaps, that's okay. All you have to do is use the chain 2 method as an alternative way to start off your piece. Instead of a stitch marker, I'm just using a scrap piece of yarn. This is a lot easier in my opinion, and it's less work to unclip and to reclip it. So then round 2, we're going to increase all around for a total of 12 stitches. So again, I'm using yarn under, yarn over, and it's just personal preference. You can do yarn over, or yarn under. I just have found after working with chunky yarn for as long as I have that it seems like it creates a nicer stitch definition, excuse me. Okay, now let's double check our stitches. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And the way that I identify the stitches, it could be a little bit tricky when you're starting out the first few rounds, is to pay attention to the V shapes created. If you're still having a hard time seeing it with your eyes, you can feel each of the ridges and bumps and really rely on that stitch marker to see where you are. Round 3, we're going to do single crochet, increase a total of 6 times around for 18 stitches. Single crochet, increase. One, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We are at the start of our new round again, so I'm going to flip over the yarn tail like this, and this way I can keep track of where the previous round was. And now we're ready for round 4. Round 4, we're going to be making 2 single crochet stitches and an increase. We're going to repeat that 6 times for a total of 24 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is actually how I keep track of crocheting when I am crocheting by myself. I'm counting out loud so that you can also get into good habit of thinking of making your increases that way. And you notice, like my left hand that's holding the working yarn, I'm barely adding any tension whatsoever. This way you'll save pain from your wrists, and also it's so much smoother. You can see that our piece is nice and flat, and that's because our tension is working with the yarn texture, not against it. If you feel like your piece is starting to cone, that's a good indication that your hook or your tension is way too tight for this type of yarn. So that's just my little helpful tip. We have a total of 24 stitches, and so I'm going to wrap my yarn stitch marker here again and begin round 5. Round 5, we want to make 3 single crochet stitches and an increase, a total of 6 times around for 30 stitches total. So again, I'm going to count out loud with 1, 2, 3, and then my increase is 4, 5. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some people like to use a larger hook than what I'm using here, and it really does depend on your tension. Just pay attention to how your flat circle is looking again and adjust as needed. This keeping things really loosey-goosey for myself allows me to crochet for longer periods of time without getting tired or hurting my wrists. Okay, we're at the end of round 5, and round 6 is 4 single crochet increase. So we're going to make that all the way around for a total of 36 stitches. Let's go ahead and start. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6 will be our increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. And we're on our last repetition. 3, 4, increase. You can really see how loosey-goosey I'm keeping everything. And there are no holes between my stitches, which is exactly what we want. Rounds 7 through 10, so 4 rounds total, is going to be single crocheting all the way around. So go ahead and pause this video and meet me back once you are finished. Welcome back. If you are here, that means you have just finished round 10 and are ready to move on to round 11. For round 11, we're going to start by making 4 increases, 10 single crochet stitches, 4 increases again, and then finishing the round with 18 single crochet stitches. So what that is doing is creating the cheeks that will pop out of our little bat. So here's my first increase, my second, my third, and my fourth. If I'm pausing right here, you can see where I started and how I was weaving our stitch marker string thing back and forth. And so it's kind of nice to be able to track your way all the way down to the center. Now we're gonna make 10 single crochet stitches, and that's gonna be the space between the cheeks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and another 4 increases. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then finish off with 18 single crochet stitches until you reach your stitch marker again. Oops, my yarn is snagging, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of a pull. And we are at the end of the round with 44 stitches. Round 12, we're going to single crochet all around, and so pause the video and meet me back when you are finished. Welcome back. We are ready to move on to round 13, where we will be making 20 single crochet stitches and a decrease, and we're going to do that sequence 2 times to bring our stitch count down to 42. So wrap your stitch markers, yarn, I guess you could say, around, and go ahead and make 20 single crochet stitches. What a mouthful. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. The decrease is going to be right around where the cheek juts out, and I'm going to be making an invisible decrease. Now we're ready to begin the sequence again. Count 20 single crochet stitches. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and a decrease before we finish up round 13. We now have a total of 42 stitches. Round 14 is going to be 5 single crochet stitches and decrease a total of 6 times. We're bringing our stitch count back down to 36. So we're decreasing now to close up our head. 3, 4, 5, decrease on the 6th and 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, decrease. 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 And now we are at the end of our round with a total of 36 stitches. Pulling up my stitch marker and wrapping it around the opposite way again, we're ready for round 15, which is 4 single crochet stitches, decrease all the way around until we get 30 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, decrease. 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 We now have a total of 30 stitches and we're getting so close. Round 16 is going to be 3 single crochet stitches and decrease all the way around until we get 24 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease. 1, 2, whoops. 3, decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease. 1, 2, 3, and decrease. We now have 24 stitches, and now we're ready to start round 17. Round 17 will be 2 single crochet stitches and a decrease all the way around until we reach 18 stitches. So wrapping my stitch marker over the other side again. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm kind of counting out loud both ways that I keep track in my head. The first being I say the word decrease, the other way saying counting out like the last 2 numbers of the sequence. Whichever way resonates with you. All right, and we are at our last decrease right here. And we have a total of 18 single crochet stitches. At this point, I'm gonna pull up my loop and prepare and get ready to stuff our head. So my favorite brand of polyfill stuffing is from Fairfield. I have tried all kinds of batting and stuffing and all of that. And I feel like this one sheds the least. The other ones were so powdery. I don't know how to describe it, but it was gross. It wasn't what you want coming out of the stitches of your plushies. I feel like this one gives good bounce back and it lasts a long time. It's easy to wash if you ever need to. And what I like to do when I'm stuffing is to add little by little around the center, make space with my thumbs and kind of just shove in more until it's feeling nice and firm. And then I'm gonna also go around like this towards the opening to really stuff out those cheeks. It's not a perfect ball, and that's exactly what we want, with cute little chibi cheeks. But by the way, if you want to insert your safety eyes now, go ahead and do so between the indicated rounds. For me personally, I am going to glue mine in just because I like to make sure the placement is how I want it to be before I sew on all the pieces. Make your first single crochet stitch, and then for the decrease, work into the back loops only and make a regular decrease. So all that is you're yarning over, pulling up 3 loops on your hook, and then yarning over and pulling it through all 3 loops. So again, single crochet in the back loop only, then do a regular decrease by yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling up a loop, oops, and just repeat that all the way around. Okay. We have created front loops, which is a little hard to see from from the texture of this yarn, but we did leave the front loops to work into when we make our body. So we're going to move on to round 19, which is to decrease a total of 6 times and to close up that hole. We can go back to making invisible decreases, which is just working the decreases in the front loops only. We're on our 3rd one, 4th, and 5th, and our final one, 6th. Okay, we're gonna slip stitch into the next stitch and then pull up a small loop to sew up the hole, and go ahead and trim your yarn tail. And then right before closing up, I'm just going to grab a little bit more stuffing and shove that in there, just so the bottom of the head is not empty. And this will make sure that the stuffing holds the head's shape without letting it morph. Okay. Using my yarn needle here. And then we're going to go through the front loops only, which can be a little tricky to see in this type of yarn. Just feel it out and take your time. And going through all of the front loops will allow us to close up that hole. Okay, so tug. And then we're going to go back into the head. As you can see, it'll create kind of like a point. So we'll go back into the center and just weave it up and cinch it tight. And that looks good. Go ahead and fasten off. Give your head a good little shaping. And we can go ahead and remove our stitch marker now. So that's the really nifty thing about using a scrap piece of yarn. You can just pull it right out at the end. Moving on to the body. The first thing you want to do is find the front of your face. And we're going to start the body at the very back of the head. So if this is the front of my face, I'm just going to mark it with a stitch marker so that I don't forget which side we're facing. And in one of the loops in the back from the front loops only that we left behind, I'm going to insert my hook and pick up my body color. To do that, I'm going to create a slip knot of my shirt color. And here I'm using the beautiful shimmery hot pink color. I think this is probably my favorite of all of the colors that they came out with in this Juicy Couture line. And I'm going to pull up the new color like so and chain 1. Okay. Then I'm going to single crochet around in the front loops only for this round. So we'll have a total of 18 stitches. You might wonder why we didn't just stop at this round where we had 18 stitches and move on to the body. Well, I found that doing so creates, well, it allows the stuffing to like shift around. I can't talk right now. And then the face loses its chubbiness in the cheeks especially when it could slide around like that, when the stuffing can slide around. And so closing up the head and then adding on the body separately, just kind of makes sure that everything stays as chubberific as we want it to be. We are making our way to the end of the first round of the body. And we're just gonna double check our stitch count here. So pulling up a loop, I'm counting the V's. You can see the stitch definition a lot easier in the darker color of this yarn. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and the current one I'm working out of 18. Perfect. Don't worry about this yarn tail. We're actually going to treat that as our little stitch marker, if you will. We'll work smarter, not harder. Round 2 of the body, we're going to single crochet all around in both loops. So go ahead and do so. And for this bat, I'm going to be creating alternating stripes. And so I'm going to change off the color every 2 rounds. The way that we're going to do that is just simply pull up the new color right before you start the first stitch of the new color. So what I mean is this is the very last stitch of the second round. And instead of yarning over in the hot pink, I am going to pull up my secondary color, and I'm just going to be using the cream color. I'll leave a little bit of a tail because I'm going to fasten those off together and tie it in a knot in a bit. And then round 3 of the body, we are going to work our increases now. We're going to be doing 2 single crochet and then increase a total of 6 times around to bring up our stitch count to 24. So I'm going to create my first stitch, and after I do so, I'm going to pause to tie my tail in a knot. Oops. This is just going to make sure that the stitches don't become loose. Okay, and we can just tuck that inside of the body. We're not going to fasten off the other color, just leave it hanging. 1, 2, increase. 3, 4, increase. 5, I'm going to mute this whole part. We have just finished round 4 and we're moving on to round 5, which is another round of single crocheting all around for a total of 24 stitches. I'm on my very last stitch with 2 loops on my hook, ready to do my color change, and I'm just going to swap out the creamish color for the hot pink. And I'm just going to yarn over and pull that through the hook, and I'm ready to single crochet all around. Pause the video again and meet me back once you're done. Welcome back. We just finished round 5 and we're ready to move on to round 6. For round 6, we'll be doing 3 single crochet stitches, increase for a total of 6 times around, and we'll end up with 30 stitches. Let me pull on my yarn a bit. And a little tip for now that you've gotten the hang of making these stripes is you can tell where the start of the round is because of the little jog here. Now normally I use a different kind of color changing technique where it'll make the stripe less visible, but for the sake of keeping this more beginner friendly, we're going to just do it the regular way. And so round 6, we're going to make our 3 single crochet stitches and increase. Again, 1, 2, 3. Increase. And 1, 2, 3. Increase. 1. Pulling up my yarn. 2, 3. Increase. 1, 2, 3. Increase. 1, 2, 3. Increase. All right, we have just finished that round and now we have 30 stitches. Switch back to white. So I'm going to pull up my stitch marker just to demonstrate that you don't have to do it for every single round once you've gotten the hang of identifying where the start is, but I'm going to just demonstrate it since we're starting to see the start of the round to spiraling, rotating because of the spiral. Now we're going to be making 2 rounds of single crochet all around, and that will be round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Pause the video and meet me back here once you are done. All right, we are finished with our last stripe of the Bats shirt. So we can go ahead and actually cut off both the cream and the hot pink. I'll leave a little bit of a tail so that I can secure them in a knot, and we can do that first. Okay, I just double knotted it so it won't come undone. And we are ready to create our color change. So I am going to go ahead and grab the color that we used for the body, the light pink. Let's create a slip knot and pull the color through. For the next round, we're going to be creating a straight edge for where the shirt meets the body, and the way we're going to do that is create slip stitches all the way around first and then work into the back loops of those slip stitches. So this round we're going to work into the back loops only, and let's create loose slip stitches all the way around. Make sure that you pull up your yarn and save these fuzzies for later, and then you're going to just pull through like so. Let me grab a better grip. And I'm like really intentionally trying to make it as loose as I can, because the last thing you want while using this method of making a straight edge is for your piece to like pucker in. If you feel like you've done it too tightly, that's okay. Just try to do it again. There's nothing wrong with undoing your work, because in the end, you're gonna be so much happier with the outcome. I highly, highly recommend redoing things as many times as you need to make it look the way you need it to. We have come to the end of our round 9, and this is kind of round 9A, because when we create the next round, when we're counting like this, it's going to appear like one round together, round 9 or 9A and 9B. And so if you're taking a look, you can already see the straight edge of the bottom of the shirt here. If we had done a regular color change and single crocheted around, you would see that it would be zigzaggy like this, and that's not what we want. So moving on to round 9B, we're going to start our decreasing to bring the body back to a rounded shape. So 3 single crochet decrease all the way around. We're going to bring our stitch count back to 24. Working into the back loops only. Okay, let me see. So working into the back loops only, let's go ahead and get started. 1, 2, 3, and then decrease. Since I'm working in the back loops only, we're just gonna make regular decreases where we pull up 3 loops and pull the yarn over all 3 of them. Again, 1, 2, 3, decrease. It gets easier the more you do it. 1, 2, 3, decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease. And we are at the end of our round with 24 stitches. Now we're moving on to round 10, and we're going to be making 2 single crochet stitches and decrease all the way around for a total of 18 stitches. So again, 1, 2, decrease. We can go back to making our invisible decreases, which is desirable for amigurumi. 1, 2, decrease. 1, oops, moved out of the screen, sorry. 2, decrease. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2, and our last decrease. All right. We're gonna pause here and stuff the body, and so I'm gonna pull up a loop on my hook, set it on the side. This is a great opportunity to use up the little fluffs that may have been shedding when you cut your yarn, so don't be afraid to stuff it all in there. Work a little bit at a time, really filling out the sides and then the center last. And I think I can fit one more chunk in here. All right, so just checking for everything. This is what your body will look like. It's looking nice and plump, and I love how the colors pop in the stripes. You can also opt to make it all one solid color as well. For the next round, we're going to be creating the little nubby feet. This is probably my favorite part of the pattern, but it's super important to find where your feet are going to be on the body. So if you're looking at the opening like this, and let me zoom out a bit so it's not so blurry. Here we go. Okay, you want to find the front of your face, and essentially your 2 feet are going to want to be on these sides. So depending on how far your start of the round rotated, because we're working in a spiral here, you might want to realign yourself by making a couple single crochet stitches if you need to, and go ahead and map out where the 2 legs should be. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to make 1 single crochet and then decrease. And then if I'm checking real quick, my first leg can be probably 1 more over. So it really depends on where you picked up your yarn from the part where we started the body. So I'm going to do another single crochet and another decrease. And checking my alignment, I'm happy with the leg being right over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and this is my first bobble stitch. So here's what you're gonna do. You are going to yarn over, go into that next stitch, pull up a loop, and now you have 3 loops on your hook. We're gonna yarn over and pull through the top 2. So it's kind of like an incomplete double crochet stitch, but we're gonna do that again. Yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and again just pull up the first 2, pull through the first 2 loops on your hook. So now we're left with 3 loops around the hook. We're going to repeat that again. Yarn over, go into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through the top 2, and you'll have 4 stitches. Yarn over, loops, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the top 2. It could be a little hard to see, but you'll know if you did it right because each time you do this, you should end up with 1 more loop on your hook. So now I have 5. We're gonna keep going until we have 7. So this is the 6th loop, pulling it up the top 2, and the last time yarning over, pulling up a loop, and yarning over and pulling up through 2 loops. So double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Perfect. Now this is going to pop that out when we yarn over again and pull through all of the loops. Make sure that your bobble is popping the right way and not the other way. If it is, just pop it out with your finger. This doesn't require any stuffing. That's all it's going to be. The next stitch is going to be a decrease. So we're going to grab the front loops of the next 2 stitches, and this is important. You want to be sure that you tug tightly so that the bobble pops. Complete your decrease and double check. I like where the leg is right there on the side. If I turn it onto the side of the head, it's right about in the middle of the body, which is perfect. Okay, the next stitch will be a single crochet, and then we're going to make a decrease and single crochet and a decrease. I take a little bit to wedge this in there. Here we go. Okay, and I'm ready for my next leg. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same process to create 7 loops on my hook. So yarn over, and then, oops, let me grab my yarn. Go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over again, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 again. Yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over again, yarn over and pull through 2. What a mouthful. Yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over again, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through 2. I have 5 loops on my hook, so 2 more times. Yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull up through 2 loops. And last one, you get the drill. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. Yarn over and pull through all of the loops. This might take a couple of tries, and if you have to redo it, don't be afraid to. So double checking, I am very happy with where this other leg ended up. And so let's go ahead and make the decrease in the next stitch, which will finish this round up. So then going into the front loops only for my invisible decrease. Here we go, tug, 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 and yarn over, pull through 2, and this round is complete. We're going to be closing up our piece at 12 stitches so that it sits a little bit flatter instead of 6, which might be standard for a lot of amigurumi. So slip stitch into the next stitch and pull up a loop for sewing. I'm going to fasten off my yarn. And our little yarn tail that we used as a stitch marker can be pulled back into the body as well. I'm going to use our needle here and go through the front loops only to cinch this hole closed. For the bobble stitches, there is still only just one chain, so be sure that you are grabbing the right one. And the nice thing is, if you're really struggling to find where that is, this yarn is super forgiving, especially when it's on the bottom of the piece, so don't stress out over it as long as your hole is closed. Okay, before I cinch it, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stuff it one last time. The firmer the shape, the better. And I'm feeling out right now that there is so much room. Okay, now we're ready to pull closed. Oh, I have one more stitch here. Okay, pull closed. Et voila, invisible. I'm gonna bury this tail a few times in the body so that it doesn't come undone. And go in opposite directions. Be sure not to tug too tightly because then that will pucker your yarn and you'll have like unwanted dimples. And I think that's good. Our bat's body and the cute little striped shirt are complete. Let's go ahead and move on to the ears and also the wings. Round 1 of the ring calls for us making a magic circle and single crocheting 6 times. Excuse me. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And again, keeping everything really loose so that the yarn does not snag when we pull the hole closed. And then I'm going to be grabbing my scrap piece of yarn as my stitch marker. I misplaced the green one, so we're using this one. All right, and now round 2. Round 2, we will be making a single crochet and increase a total of 3 times around to bring our stitch count to 9. So going under the first stitch can always be a little tricky. There's 1, and then our increase. Oops. 1, increase, and 1, increase. Okay, we have 9 stitches, and now for round 3. For round 3, we will be making 4 half double crochets and 5 single crochet stitches. So I'm going to wrap around my yarn stitch marker thing, and let's make our first half double crochet. First, you're going to yarn over and go into your stitch, yarn over, pull up a stitch so you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and pull through all 3. That's our first half double crochet stitch, so let's do that 3 more times. Yarn over, go into your next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 1, 2, 3 loops, pull yarn over and pull through all 3. And our third half double crochet, yarn over, go into this next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, 3 stitches or 3 loops, pull through all 3. Lastly, yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over again and pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, and then pull through all 3. Yarn over and pull through all 3. Next, we're going to make 5 single crochet stitches. So we've got our first 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We haven't made any increases in this round, so our stitch count should still be 9. Round 4, we will make half double crochet increases 4 times, and then in regular crochet or regular single crochet increases 5 times. Wrapping my stitch marker back the other way, yarning over and making my first increase. So we're going to do our half double crochet stitch, and in the same stitch we will insert our hook and do that again. So a half double crochet increase is very similar to how you make a single crochet increase. You're just adding 2 in one stitch. So this is our second increase, our third, our fourth, our fifth, and oopsies, that was too much. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4. I got too excited there. Now we're gonna make 5 regular single crochet increases. So here's our first increase, our second increase, our third, and our fourth, and our fifth. Our stitch count should now be 18. For round 5, we will make 8 half double crochet stitches and 10 single crochet stitches. And the reason why we're doing half double crochet and the other half just regular single crochet is because half double crochet stitches are taller. And so what we want is like a slanted kind of ear shape. And that's because the way we sew it onto the head is going to allow the ears to point upwards instead of off to the side. You'll see what I mean in a bit. So half double crochet and work into your next stitch. So there's 1, 2, we're gonna go a little faster, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then we will make 10 regular single crochet stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we have a total of 18 stitches. Round 6. Round 6 will be 3 decreases, and then we will make 8 single crochet stitches, and this will be an incomplete round, which means we're not going to meet all the way to where we started. So I'll make 3 decreases, indivisible decreases. So going through the front loops only, yarning over and pulling through. There's 3. The rest will be single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now we're going to fasten off. So slip stitch in the next stitch and pull up a tail for sewing. Let me grab my scissors. Using a different pair this time. And we can take out our stitch marker and set that to the side. Thread your tail through, and here is the important part. You're going to want to make sure that where you fastened off is going to be the end of your ear, all the way on the right side. And we're going to be using a technique to make the ears folded. So you're going to fold over the opposite way for each ear. And we're going to count 4 stitches over. So this will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. And go ahead and insert your needle through both of the layers like this. Now we're going to pull through and watch the magic happen. So I'm going to pinch it so that it doesn't drag, and then we have our little fold just like that. To secure it in place though, I'm going to go through the stitch next to where we came out of, and then we are going to pull through and then this will be how we sew our ear onto the head with a little bit of this fold like so. All right, let's go ahead and make 2 of those and meet me back here once you are finished. For the wings, you will want to make 2, and let's start with round 1. Make a magic circle and single crochet 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull your circle closed, and here's another little neat trick I like to use. As a stitch marker, you can use the tail from the magic circle. And now we are ready for round 2. Round 2, increase all around for a total of 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I usually film my tutorials at night at like midnight when everyone's asleep, but today we're filming this chunk in the daytime, so you hear a little bit of stuff in the background. For round 3, we will single crochet all the way around. Pause the video and meet me back when you are finished. And for round 4, we will make a single crochet increase 5 times, and that'll bring our stitch count up to 15. So single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. You can hear my daughter snacking in the background. Single crochet, increase, and single crochet, increase. Okay, our stitch count is now 15. Single crochet all the way around for the next round. So pause the video here and meet me back when you are finished. For round 6, we will make 2 single crochet stitches and an increase all the way around. 1, 2, increase, and then another 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase. Aria, 1, 2, increase. For round 7, single crochet all the way around, so go ahead and pause the video and meet us back when you're finished. For round 8, we will be increasing all around, so bring your stitch marker around and go ahead and start increasing all the way around. I'm just going to do part of this with you, and the rest you will pause the video and finish on your own. You're going to start to see that the piece starts to bend or flare out, and that's exactly what we want for our wing. All right, we are back. We now have 40 stitches around, and what we'll be doing is making little ridges, and there'll be a total of 5 of them. One of them will not be visible since it'll be sewn to the back of the bat, so I'll show you how to do that. When you flatten the 2 edges, you're going to want to work directly into the next stitch over, and then find the first stitch away from your hook. So that's going to be us going through both layers like this. And then we're going to make a single crochet as our first stitch, and then a half double crochet into the next. Make sure you're going through both layers like so. Yarn over, pull through pull through all 3. Then chain 2, this is the part that'll make each of these little scallops pointy. Work another half double crochet stitch in the same stitch. You can think of it as like an increase. Okay, into the next stitch you will make a single crochet stitch and a slip stitch into the next. So this whole sequence took up 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, and it'll create this nice little point like this from the chain 2. So doing that again, single crochet into the next stitch. You want to tug on your yarn, make sure that it's nice and tight. Yarn over and make your first half double crochet. Pull through all 3, chain 2, and yarn over again, work into the same stitch, and then make a single crochet into the next stitch and slip stitch into the next. That is our second ridge. For the third, same thing, single crochet, half double crochet into the next, chain 2, half double crochet into the same stitch, and single crochet and slip stitch into the next. Okay, our next one, single crochet, half double crochet, chain 2, half double crochet into the same. My fridge is being really loud. Shh, be quiet, I'm filming. Thank you. Single crochet into the next and slip stitch. We're gonna work our last little ridge. Single crochet, half double crochet, chain 2, half double crochet, single crochet, and slip stitch into the very last ridge. If you feel like you're out of space, that's okay. I wouldn't stress out and undo the whole thing. Just slip stitch into the same stitch if you need to. I think I must have missed one or something. Pull up a tail and snip, snip. So that looks really, really pretty. And we are ready to move on to assembly. So here we have my bat body, and we're gonna be assembling the wings first. So for each wing, I'm going to position it onto the sides of the body and show you the importance of pinning your pieces down. I don't want my wings to be too high where there is no gap to show off this beautiful like angular curve, which in my opinion really makes it look like a bat. So I want it to be a little bit lower, like so that there's a little bit of a gap underneath the cheeks. So I'm gonna have to weave one of my yarn tails over to the other side. We don't wanna simply flip it around because it'll just make it look a lot more consistent if they are both facing the right way. So let's go ahead and start with that. I'm gonna grab my yarn needle. Here you go. So going in from where we came out of, you can just find a little opening to insert your needle into and come out on this ridge right here. Okay, and don't tug too tight, otherwise your wing will get scrunched in. And then flipping my body over, I am going to find the midline, and you'll see where that is because this is kind of like where we made our color changes. You can play around with it, a little higher, a little lower to your liking, but my recommendation is to allow for a little bit of space. Go ahead and sew it down the height of this little ridge here. And extra security does not hurt either. So I'm going to go down the side as well, just a bit. Okay, I'm going to go back up because I see that I want to put one more stitch in here. Okay, and I'm gonna weave the excess tail down below because I want to tie my yarn tails in a knot at the very end to secure it all in place. facing me. It has a really nice, pretty gap. And let's go ahead and do the other one. For this one, we don't have to weave the yarn tail over because it'll be right side. Well, it's facing the right side, I should say. And take your time with sewing. My biggest tip while we're working here is really to not be afraid to undo it again if you're not happy with the placement. You would be so surprised to discover how many times I've cut off the yarn tail and like repositioned things. Because it really does make a big difference. Your work can look wonky if you're like one round off, and sometimes you can get away with it. So it's really preference and also just knowing what is worth your time. So I encourage you to strive for excellence. All right. And I'm making sure that's nice and secure. Coming back up to go down the side as well. This way they don't flap around too much. Maybe one more on the top too. Okay. Now I'm gonna go down out where the other yarn tail is and just check my positioning before you tie anything off. As it's facing me, I love the way that it looks. So we are symmetrical on both sides, perfect. We are ready to tie off. So what I'll do is double knot this yarn. And the nice thing is it's really nice and sturdy when you double knot it. It won't slip out because of the texture. So I've pulled the knot into the body, as you can see, just by pinching the butt a little bit. And I'm gonna cut it with maybe an inch remaining and just tuck the tails in. If you don't want to use your scissors because you've had a bad experience snipping, aka me, you can always pull it through with your hook as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and sew on the ears now. Now for my ears, we're going to pin the positions before we sew anything down. Looking at the center of the head, let me just zoom up a bit. You're going to be counting from the center of the spiral, and we're going to sew each ear between rounds 3 and 6. So counting, this would be 1, 2, 3. My first pin will be right here. Maybe I'll just do it with this. And double check to align your ears with the feet. Make sure that they are following the same line here. Invisible line, I should say. And this is round 3, so this would be 4, 5, and 6. Okay, double checking once again. And do the same thing on the other side. 1, 2, and 3. And let's see. Actually, 1, 2, and 3. Oops. Now, because the spiral starts over on this side, actually, you have to double check and make sure that you're in the right spot, or you might be one round off, as I almost was. 3, 4, 5, 6. Double check to make sure it is aligned with the other leg as well. Take your time with sewing. That's my biggest tip. People are always excited to make all the pieces and then they want to rush through sewing. Make sure that you grab the ear that has the curve facing outwards, and then the other ear's curve should be facing the opposite way as well. Kind of looks like a cute little pig at this point. You could get away with making a mod for this, I'm sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold it down first. Here we go. And showing the sewing process on camera is always so hard because really I'm like bending my neck over the other way and everything. Okay, and we're not going to be sewing it flat just because we want a little bit more security. What I mean by flat is like just going zigzag. We're going to go all the way around. So 1, 2, and 3, coming around the other way. Okay, ready to take out this pin so it's not in the way. Okay. It might not seem like a whole lot of space to sew on the ear, but the reason why it's so short is so that the ears point upwards as much as they can. Okay. I've made my way around. Let's just double check real quick. Looking good. You can kind of shape the ear as you need to with your fingers as well. And I'm going to keep the yarn tail right here again to sew the other one in place once we're done. Let's thread our other ear. Oops. Let's thread our other ear and double check the position. Perfect. Okay. Now again, I'm going to go through the back and go through each of the stitches carefully. Take this marker out. Double check. Always pause and double check. You don't want to find out at the very end that you are off, which has totally happened to me when I'm zoning out. And actually, that's the reason why I have such a hard time watching a show and crocheting, and well, more so sewing, because I just won't be paying attention and I'll like totally kick myself in the butt for it at the end. All right. Oops, sorry. Notice that when I am securing these pieces, I'm always going into the next stitch over. That'll make your pieces attached a lot more cleanly, if you will. Okay. I think I want to secure it one more time up on top. Okay. So again, the curved edges are facing outwards, and then you can kind of position your ears a little bit like this by pinching it, give it a little bit of shape. And, oh, let me pull out the tail so that they're coming out of the right hole, the same hole. And again, let's secure a knot and tug a little tighter. And that way the knot will be swallowed up in the piece like this and squish it around so it goes in. Leave about an inch. And this time I'll demonstrate pulling him in with a hook. It's a lot less like risky, but honestly, I just have more precision with my sharp scissors. Do what you will. Okay, we are ready to make our face. So this is an example of a finished bat. I actually spray painted these eyes gold because the black eyes on the black body just blended in too much. So let's go ahead and get started. I just cut a strand of some red yarn that I already had on hand, and the mouth is going to be between rounds 11 and 12, and it's going to be 2 stitches wide. Count from the top, center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's going to be along this line right here. And I'm using my pins that I placed earlier as a midpoint. So first go in the face somewhere else other than the stitch you're going to be coming out of, like so. And then come on up and leave about an inch of a tail because we'll be tying that to make a secure mouth in a bit. Move 2 stitches over and then go back out the same hole. And before you pull super taut, just leave a little bit of slack first because I'm going to be coming in with my UHU glue. I really like this fabric glue because of the tin container it's in. I've used other brands like Beacon, but their bottles end up getting a lot of air in it, and then it gets hard to push out the product. So we're gonna add a tiny smidgen here. Less is more to secure our smile down because I like to have a subtle curved smile not like a sharp V, but you can do whatever floats your boat. I will say that gluing down your facial features is more like for decorative amigurumi, so just be mindful of that if you're planning on having it being played with a lot by kids or whoever. And just very, very gently press down. I'm just kind of using, you know, my needle here, whatever is fine pointed. And you don't want to touch it too much until it dries. Okay, so there's our cute little smile. Tie your yarn tails in a knot. And we're gonna pull it in with our hook. Whoops, there goes my eye. Okay. This is short enough where I don't need to trim it. For the teeth, I'm gonna be cutting 2 little tiny teeth out of this paper like white felt. I'm just using a little scrap piece from a different project. And for the teeth, you're just gonna make 2 tiny little slits. Be really careful so that you get really crisp lines, and I'll show you in a bit, just like that, if it'll focus. There you go. And then my other tooth will be the other triangle that I just cut up here. And there's our second one. Again, with a little bit of fabric glue, I'm gonna secure on each of the vampire teeth. And I feel like the teeth are a lot more visible with the darker yarns I used. So add a dab, and then we're going to position one of the teeth on one side of the mouth underneath. The other tooth, I'm just grabbing it with the tips of my scissors, mainly because I lost my tweezers. All right. Okay. And they kind of blend in here, but again, let me show you the example on the black bat. Really cute when it's contrasted against the red mouth. Now for the safety eyes, I am going to place them along the same 2 rounds as our mouth. You can really see the difference the placement of the eyes makes. Like just keeping them really nice and centered in the center of the body makes a more chibi effect, large forehead, like all the features in one line. That's very characteristic of chibi creatures. Some people prefer to place them higher up, but you can see it just creates a totally different feel. You can even place them further apart, and that's another really cute kind of look. So just figure out what speaks to you. I like to use hot glue or fabric glue to place my eyes after the piece has been closed, because I just cannot stand when they are off-centered. So I really avoid putting them in beforehand if I can help it. But of course, if it's for a baby or a little one, safety first. You might even want to embroider your eyes instead. So 2 stitches away from the mouth is where we'll have it. Hold it in place to let it dry. I just cut out a little felt tongue out of red, and I'm gonna glue it right on top of the mouth so it can have a cute little variation just like that on the very edge. That's all it takes. Then you could either place it below the mouth, but I'm going to be placing it right on top. That's a cute little variation with the tongue sticking out like this. Okay, and these are our finished little bats using the Juicy Couture yarn. And I made another solid one in hot pink because I just love how the sparkle shows through. And you can see the little fangs on the darker colored ones. And I also had these like tiny little bows on hand. I just thought they would make such a cute little touch to add them on to the solid colored ones. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please be sure to tag your creations with Curious Papaya on Instagram, and happy Halloween!